Hey there everybody, my name is Grant, and welcome to the Weekly Comment. And this week, I'm not commenting on a specific event, but rather I'm going to comment on a sort of state of public discourse. For the last few years, we have heard this narrative over and over again about the toxicity of our public discourse in the United States, especially when it comes to politics. And we're hearing a bunch of explanations as to what's causing the toxicity. I think the most frequent thing that's blamed for the very toxic political discourse is social media. Now it's like, oh, it's allowing us to create, echo chambers designed to our own liking so that we don't have to interact with people we don't agree with. You also hear some complaints about, oh, there aren't any unifying ideas or myths that all Americans can grasp onto, so we can say, yes, this is what makes us all Americans. That there's none of that anymore. There's also some ideas of everything is being politicized. It's like, no matter what you do, no matter what you say or think, you watch a TV show, listen to some music, see a movie, everything has to have some kind of binary political message. But I think we're thinking about this toxicity wrong. Now, this is a subject I actually want to make a full-blown regular, Monday video on, but I want to get some of my thoughts out now in case, people comment on something that could elaborate the thoughts for me. But I think we need to rethink of this toxicity issue. Basically, instead of asking first what, is causing the toxicity, instead, we need to think of these things: social media, lack of unifying narrative, politicization of, non-political issues, as not as being the causes of the toxicity, but rather those things are the toxicity. Is the toxicity being caused by social media isolation, where we're purposely creating our own echo chambers, or is the fact that we're using social media to create our own echo chambers the toxicity in and of itself? Is our lack of narrative creating the toxicity, or is the fact that there's no unifying narrative for Americans anymore the toxicity in and of itself? Is that what actually is being toxic? Or, of course, everything being politicized. It's like, is everything being politicized creating the toxicity, or is it the toxicity itself? And my view is that all three of these things and more are the toxicity. They're not creating it. And I think this is how we need to reframe this line of questioning. What is the toxicity? Well, these things that we're complaining about, these things that we think are causing the toxicity, are in fact the toxicity itself. So then, if we're rethinking of, we're not, it's like things aren't bad because we have echo chambers via social media, but rather we are creating echo chambers with social media in response to something else. And so the thought I have on this is that I think the toxic political discourse we have is a result of the nature of our government. Now, I don't mean the nature of, liberal democracy, capitalism type stuff. No, I don't mean that kind of government. I mean that I'm talking about power. For the last 100 years, well, more than 100 years actually, we've seen more and more power centered into the federal government in the United States, and in particular within the executive branch. The government, especially the executive, have become so powerful that they can do massive damage or massive good before anyone else can respond to it. Let's take a look at three things from very recently, such as the Paris Climate Agreement, the Iran deal, and the DACA program. None of these things were passed constitutionally. It's like the Senate never ratified the Iran deal, the Senate never ratified the Paris Climate Agreement, and DACA was never approved of by Congress. It's like all three of these things have been enforced for the last however many years they've been around by presidential fiat. They are not laws of the land. Instead, you simply had President Obama enforcing them as he saw fit. Diverting whatever funds in the federal government could be diverted to them, he diverted to the enforcement of those programs. Now, regardless of whether or not you thought those treaties and programs were good policy, one thing that's definitely certain is that they were not constitutionally approved of. They did not pass through Congress. They did not have acceptance within our legal framework. Instead, you simply had the president, by executive decision, deciding to enforce a policy without legal acceptance. Especially DACA. DACA was a program made out of whole cloth. And like I said, regardless whether or not you thought it was good policy, it was not legal, it was not constitutional. The president just decided to enforce a policy pulled out of nothing. And it's that kind of power, I think, is the problem causing the toxicity. As in, the presidency and the government in general has become so powerful that they can act on something, they can do a thing before anyone can respond to it. Such as with, once again, DACA. President Obama created the DACA program by executive fiat, and he was able to put that program into place and have it enforced for years before Trump came in and announced his plans to end the program. By the time he came in, by the time someone who could undo the thing came in to undo it, it had become a unofficially established institution. Basically, people had come to expect that this is how things are going to operate from now on, even though the legal grounds for it were dubious at best. And so when someone comes in and tries to undo it, this creates huge political backlashes, one way or another. And so that's the problem with the president being allowed to do whatever they want. They can create a law, a program, a department out of nothing. It enforces its rules as though it was law, even though it's not. And then when someone comes along and wants to get rid of it, there is political and social backlash against a thing that wasn't legal in the first place, but people have come to enjoy and accept. This is why I think political discourse has become so toxic. Whoever controls this office or these offices holds so much power that political groups, people of different interests, cannot afford to let anyone who is not in line with their interests hold these offices. Because you can't let anyone who's not in line with your interests hold these offices, you need to win the elections, and win them by any means necessary. Which means you need to motivate voters to go out and vote. That is the bottom line. You need to make sure you control these offices so that way you control the executive power to do whatever the hell you want. And even more importantly is to make sure that the other guy can't do what they want. Because whoever is president or whoever is holding that executive office can make sweeping changes before anyone can respond to it. Okay then, so you need to win elections. How do you win elections? By getting people out to vote. Okay then, what's the best way to get people out to vote? Simply put, it's fear, it's anger, it's hate. You need to create a totem of the opposing side and tell all your people that if you do not stop them, if you don't go out to vote for our guy to stop them, they will destroy your way of life. They will lock you up in camps. They will throw away your liberties. You need to stop them or else all the bad things you hate will happen and all the good things you like will go away. With that kind of knowledge, every election becomes a matter of life and death. And so, you have to convince people to be afraid of the other side. You have to convince them that they want to do nothing but bad for you. They have nothing but ill intent towards you and your existence. This is where social media comes in. Basically, you stoke the fires. You have people talking with each other about how bad the other guy is without actually talking about or with the other guy. You share memes, clickbait articles, clips of takedowns of X, and you build this idea of the other side. You stoke the fear, the anger, the hate, so that when election day comes around, your group is motivated to go out, vote your guy into place, so that you can either protect the thing you want to protect, or get rid of the thing you want to get rid of. But this isn't a one-way street. The other side sees this happening, and they start doing the same thing. They're saying, we need to get our guys back into office so we can undo all the unconstitutional or illegal or all the bad things that they've done. We need to get in so we can undo it. And so it goes back and forth. You stoke anger, you stoke fear, you stoke hate to make sure that your guy gets in. Because fact of the matter is, anger is a more potent motivator than hope. Hope gets people who don't vote out to vote, but anger is a more reliable winning strategy because People who vote regularly vote out of fear. So they use social media to create totems of hate and to sick out mob internet justice. Or they politicize everything to make sure that no matter what you do, you are taking a political stance to create as much division as possible, which stokes once again, stokes the anger, the hate, and the fear. And then, of course, there's the destruction of unifying myths or narratives. Basically, make sure that these people have, instead of a unifying narrative with these other people, that they have a separate narrative, as in, oh, their new narrative is Group X hates you and has done everything within their power to harm your existence. Therefore, you need to stop Group X. That becomes the new narrative. A narrative that intentionally splits a people. Anyways, this is what I think is going on. I hope to, once again, I want to make a bigger video about this subject, a regular Monday video, when I get a chance to better elaborate it, but I wanted to get some thoughts out now, just to get your guys' response to it. What do you think I might be missing here? Or do I have it too close on the money to care about changes? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.